Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Akil, and I just got done watching the Electric State on Netflix. And this is the new film from the Russo brothers. And I don't care what anyone says, they're some of my favorite directors ever. I love Endgame, I love Infinity War, I love Winter Soldier, and Civil War. I like Cherry, and I love The Gray Man. So, yeah. However, this film is my least favorite, but I don't think it's as bad as people are making out to be. Like, some people are saying it's like a total train wreck, like it's a waste of money and all that. And I could see why, but I don't hate this movie. I can't force myself to hate a movie. If I really don't like something, I don't like something. This is not one of those movies that I can just straight up say, oh, this is like, really? Like, what's the point? I wanted to see where the movie was going. It's not one of those movies that you sit there and you think to yourself, why am I watching this? I've had that happen before, like in The Darkest Minds, for example. That was the first movie I saw by myself in the theater. 2018 also, that happened to me as well. When I saw Robin Hood, I was at home watching it. I was like, oh, why am I watching this actually? Like, what is happening? Anyway, this movie, I watched all of it, and I gotta say, this movie has something there, but at the same time it doesn't. And I'll explain what it is when we keep going on into the review. But for my pre-rating score, I am unfortunately gonna say that The Electric State is an okay movie, guys. This is pretty much like Red One, if you guys saw my review for that last as well. Where they have some ideas, but it's not the best. And same as Elevation as well. I feel like this Red One and Elevation all fall into that same category and trope, in the sense that, while yes, this is definitely bigger in terms of cast, budget, and scale as well, for sure, compared to those two movies, it still feels like that there's an interesting idea there, but the execution could have been a lot better. So, getting into the story without spoiling and saying much at all, basically, it's pretty much Millie Bobby Brown's character, Michelle, trying to find her brother, and that's all it is. She runs into Chris Pratt, who plays a character known as Keats, and yeah, that's all I have to say. Stanley Tucci, I guess you could say, is the villain. There's also Gia Charles Esposito as well, and there's robots, and yeah, that's all I can generally say without spoiling it. I mean, I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you've seen the trailer, you know what you're getting in for, I would say. And yes, this is the most expensive film I believe Netflix has ever put out. 320 million. That is a lot of money. I don't know why they spend so much money for this, but there were times I could tell, but there were other times I was like, really? 320 mil for this? Okay, sure, why not? But yeah, it is what it is, guys. Now, the positives, the stuff that I actually did like. First up, the cinematography. Say what you will, that this looks like a Netflix movie and all that. I gotta admit, and I can't lie, there is some good looking shots in this movie. There was like one sequence in particular that I don't really want to spoil because it might be a spoiler, so I'll just leave it at that. That was very nicely shot and lit. I have to bring that up because as someone who's studying film and all that, I get inspired by seeing shots like that. But yeah, I thought they did a good job writing that scene and all that. And the Russo brothers did a good job directing that scene as well. But it looks good. The movie actually looks good, and that's the biggest takeaway I can say from it. Another takeaway, even before, let me rephrase it. Even if I did know who composed the music, and even before I saw the credits, because I do like to see who's in the movie, and I like to see like the mini credits, not like the long ones, obviously, unless it's like an MC movie, I can just skip. But long story short, even before I saw the credits, I could just tell this felt like Alan Silvestri doing the music, and it was. I mean, for one, he's done movies for the Russos before. He did Endgame and Infinity War. And two, it just felt like, that magical Alan Silvestri type of vibe, like in Nine Museum, I would say. Yeah. And did he do have not have it, Jumanji? No, I don't think he did. But regardless though, this had that very magical Emblem-esque type of vibe. Oh yeah, Forrest Gump, Back to the Future, how could I forget? Yeah. This definitely felt like a solid Alan Silvestri score. And yes, that's another thing. The score really kind of saved this movie. I felt like it could have fell into that generic territory if it wasn't for the music, I would say. But the score actually amplified it up in some ways. Even some songs as well actually made it more watchable. So yeah, the cinematography and the music I like. And finally, for positives, this has an interesting concept. I actually don't know if it's all from the book, because apparently the book is just like pictures, I believe. I've seen snippets of the book online and stuff. But anyway, there's an interesting concept in this movie. It's not just robots and humans, trying to live and all that. There's other stuff going on. We've seen this type of movie before, don't get me wrong. And I won't mention other movies because that would ruin the experience and it will spoil. You can compare and all that. But anyway, there's an interesting concept in this movie. Now, negatives. Here we go. This is why I was not the biggest fan of this movie. First up, it is cliche. This movie feels pretty damn cliche, guys. I can't lie. It feels like all these movies mixed together, whether it's, finding the brother, stuff with robots and humans, stuff with technology, stuff with the future. Like, I get it. It's very timely, prevalent, and relevant now. But honestly, though, out of all the movies they could have done, I'm still surprised they chose to do this. And I don't mind variety. I really love when directors go versatile and try to, be chameleons and all that. Spielberg is a king of doing that, even Kubrick as well, I would say. But even though they tried to do like a PTSD war type of film with Cherry, an action film with The Gray Man, and now a sci-fi film with Electric State, and now they're going back to the superhero genre with Doomsday and Secret Wars, I'm still glad that they tried to break away from just doing, a superhero film after a superhero film, even though they did that 4 times in a row. But after Endgame, at least they tried to do different things, even though people didn't love all their films. In my opinion, my favorite film post Endgame that they've done is still The Gray Man. I really enjoyed that film. However, I don't have the urge to go back to it, but it's one of those films that when I watched it, I really enjoyed myself. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I feel like maybe that film was kind of made for me, if that kind of makes sense, Like, when you watch something, it's like, oh, that film was kind of made for me. Yeah, it kind of felt like that. I just really enjoyed it. Here, though, I really wanted to at least like this movie. I like to give movies a chance, even though they do get bad reviews. Plus, this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, like Mickey 17, which I liked, and thank God for that. But I trusted Bong Joon-ho, just like I trust the Russo brothers. But it's okay. Everyone has a bad day at the office, even though I don't think this is a total train wreck, abomination, or disaster of a film. But anyway, there's still two more negatives before I actually get into my score for the movie. So hold your horses, guys. We're not done yet. But anyway, besides it being cliched, another thing I didn't like was that there was lackluster villains. The villains in this movie were just whatever. Whether it's Gideon Charles Esposito, it's like, oh, okay, really this trope, okay, sure. Stanley Tucci, okay, this trope, why not? It's like, oh, we've seen this before, and they try to give him some depth at this one particular moment, but then it kind of cuts away, and he's just one of those guys that screams and yells half the time, and he's just, oh, I want to do this to the future and make this and do this to make our future better and get rid of all these people and all that. It's like, okay, I get it, but like, and again, it's very hard to come up with something new and original nowadays, but they could have given some more depth to him, make him a little more menacing and all that. They did try to make him hands-on at the end. He's not just sitting there on his chair and all that. No, they did try to make him menacing, but I mean, do some stuff at the final battle, the third act of the film. But even then, still, sorry guys. Even then, still, it still doesn't work. It's just one of those villains that doesn't do much for me, if that kind of makes sense. In that way, I prefer Gil Charles Esposito's character as well. Also, speaking of characters in general, Ke Huy Quan was totally wasted in this movie. He had no reason to be here. In fact, some of the voice cast as well, I feel like had no reason to be here. And I can't lie, I did not realize that was Andy Mackie. I knew he was in there. I was like, which character does he voice? And at one point, it did sound like him one guy, but they was like, oh, that is Andy Mackie. I was right. He voices Herman. That's not a spoil. He just voices Herman. So there's that. Anyway, finally, for negatives, before I give my score, it was lacking humor. It was lacking humor. So yes, not only was this movie cliched, which is unfortunate for a Russo brothers movie, not only does this movie had some pretty weak villains, which is also unfortunate for a Russo brothers movie, because yes, Chris Evans in Gray Man was a fun villain. He wasn't menacing, but he was at least fun. Thanos was great. Zemo was great. And of course, Bucky was great too. And I guess Alexander Pierce, if you want to consider that. I actually don't mind him as a villain in Winter Soldier as well. But here, the villains don't do much. But another thing, like I said, it lacks humor. There's barely any good jokes in this movie. I think I laughed once or twice at the joke. And even that, the joke was so on the nose, but I couldn't help but laugh because I like that. But anyway, this movie could have been so much better if it had like actual better humor, I feel like. And this is coming from Marcus and McFeely. And that's why I bring this up, because They have given us some of the funniest moments in superhero movie history ever. I'm not even joking. Like, some of the jokes in the four Russo brothers movies that they worked on, and maybe even First Avenger and Thor the Dark World, which they wrote all those films, I would say. So there's that. There's some great humans as I mean, not humans, humor as well. Yeah, like even Thor the Dark World. Like, now to think about it, the part when Jane Foster slaps Loki, and she's like, "Oh, that was for New York," and he's like, "Oh, I like her." It's definitely a very like cliche type of joke, but it works in that context, and I love it. And then there's obviously other moments in Endgame and Infinity War, like the part when they go back in time and they see Star Wars dancing, and he's like, "Oh, so he's an idiot." Yeah, there's so many funny moments. I love that. The Fortnite jokes are old, but whatever. Anyway, this movie deserved to be better, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you guys did not like this movie, but I just think it's okay. And if you did like it, more power to you. I wish I was on your level, but unfortunately, I cannot force myself to even like this movie. It's almost a bad movie. There are some things saving it though. The music saves it, the cinematography saves it, and I also think that because of the concept, it does save it. And in that way, it's like Red One. If the concept was not interesting, this probably would have gotten a low score for me. You know, like it could have been like something like Pacific Rim Uprising, where now that think back onto it, it kind of feels like it has the same problems of that just kind of being generic and all that. But that film totally missed the mark on what a Pacific Rim film was. I don't even know why I'm thinking about that now. Anyway, point is that this movie deserved to be better. So as a final score, overall, unfortunately, I'm gonna give The Electric State a 5 out of 10. Oh my god, guys. This is unfortunate. It sucks. It really sucks. Am I scared for Doomsday and Secret Wars now? Yeah, a little bit. But you know what? It's okay. Like I said before, everyone has a bad day. The Office, I mean, hey, you can't win every time, right? I mean, they have been trying so hard to, make their own types of films post Endgame. And clearly, none of them have been super hits. Like Great Man, people didn't like. Cherry, some people didn't like. And even this one, a lot of people don't like. So, yeah. But I like Cherry and I love Greyman. So, at least I got those two. This one, again, I can't force myself to like. There's interesting things here. And that's why I can't give it a 4. If there's nothing really interesting, it would be a 4. Maybe even a 3, which is not good. But it's okay, guys. Also, I didn't praise it, both of these three things. But the writing's not too bad, the acting's not too bad, and it's also not poorly directed either. So there's that. So that's why it also gets a 5. But those don't really stand out to me compared to the other three things I brought up in the positive section of this review. But guys, that's it. That's all I have to say for now. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching my review of The Electric State. You can go check it out on Netflix for yourself and form your own opinion. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. My name's Akil, otherwise known as the Comic Director, and I'm signing out.